Casey and Amy Rose, thanks so much for joining us here on the show. How are you both?
Yeah, really good.
I'm amazing. Beautiful today.
And it's Richard here. Lovely to see you. Very nice to meet you.
Yeah, nice to meet you, Richard.
Now, you guys have got this very interesting project, Cortex Brainwave Technologies. You're building some hardware that's going to help a lot of people in the world in doing neurofeedback. So, Casey, do you want to kick us off and just give us a bit of an outline of what your project is all about?
Yeah, sure. We started out basically because I was looking for a therapy for my daughter and myself because we both have ADHD and autism, and couldn't find either a cost-effective or actual therapy that my daughter would actually want to use. And that was the core reason why Cortex was founded. And as I talked to more and more people, I found that there was really an empty gap in therapy availability, so for people to use at home.
Okay.
So it became something that we could provide to people like myself or other people with other conditions that can benefit from neurofeedback. And yeah, it's been a long road, but it feels like we're getting closer to the actual physical product in our hands, which will be really, really exciting. So yeah.
Now, this is an actual Eeg headset, right? This is a monitor for your brain.
Started out as an EEG system. So, yeah, my email is still Cortex EEG, but we've actually transitioned to a near infrared system now.
Okay. Because
we found that that no matter what we did for a home system with all the electrical noise in the vicinity of people at home, and the fact that people want to use it when they're moving around was a real problem.
Okay.
So we switched to near infrared. So we're looking at blood flow rather than electrical activity now. And we're confident that based on the functional MRI studies that you can do neurofeedback based on the blood flow, and that does correlate with the brain activity. So yeah, that was my first step, was does this actually match up with EEG? Is it actually going to work? Because the worst thing we could possibly do would be to make something that didn't do what we said it did, because there's all too many of these brain-computer interface devices that have a very nice appearance, but they don't pass any of the clinical tests when researchers go and grab them.
Okay.
So that was my concern, to make sure that we had the science down, if it makes sense.
Yeah. So this is a fundamentally different process then. Instead of looking at electrical activity, we're looking at blood flow. So do the same principles apply when we look at the traditional way of doing neurofeedback?
From my understanding, yes, because all of the functional MRI studies based around neurofeedback, which, as you may or may not know, is based around measuring hemoglobin levels and types of hemoglobin in the brain. So they're looking at blood flow, and when they look at blood flow, they can do neurofeedback effectively the same way you can do with EEG. So they find that it directly correlates with the amount of brain activity and area as to how much blood flow. So for EEG, I think there's a 1 millisecond measurement. Well, 1/1000th of a millisecond it measures, and we're doing with the near infrared 1 out of 1/10 of a millisecond. So no, 10 microseconds. We're measuring every 10 microseconds. So it's a slightly slower, but in the range of things. For say for an functional MRI, they measure they have one measurement a second.
Right.
So an EEG measures 1,000 times faster than a functional MRI. We're measuring 10 times slower than an EEG, but still in that range, it's so tiny that they're quite comparable.
Right. And again, trying to draw the comparison between two systems, are you Like with quantitative EEG, are you looking at a set of so-called norms that you're wanting to entrain the brain toward, or what's your therapeutic approaches?
Definitely. So looking at getting a baseline, we're not just measuring the easy locations on the skin that doesn't have hair on it. We're looking at the core arrangement of a traditional EEG style system, and the extra bonus is that near infrared components are a lot easier to work with, and we can actually easily snap them on and snap them off. So if we've got a problem with one, it's pretty easy to replace, which I find pretty exciting, because I like the idea of if you've got a kit and you get extra bits and pieces with it, so you don't have to replace the whole thing like you do so often with the other standalone ones where it's all really tightly built in.
Yes.
I like a Lego style system myself.
Right.
That's what I grew up with.
So we can customize it. We can make it all pretty and.
Okay.
Sorry about that. So if we're children, particularly, I can imagine my daughter or even Casey's daughter wanting to customize the headset, because essentially it'll be something that you'll have in your own house, and everything you have in your own house reflects you as a character or as a person. So it's going to be part of a gaming system as well. So like Casey said, it's the end product is going to be, and hopefully, if it all goes well, pretty cool to use and look.
Yeah, I like the fact of this integration of the messages that the brain is sending out, which is really what the whole process. We're sending messages in, the brain is sending messages out, and some of our preliminary discussions. I was talking about some of the work with that was done previously with locked-in patients, and Niels Burbaumer did this work, and he found EEG didn't give him enough information, and he combined EEG with oxygenation processes, which he did with functional near-infrared spectrometry. And it was the combination of those two that gave the human beings watching the machinery the ability to get a better reading of the brain's messages. And it's that systems method, and which leads me now into
that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Because for EEG, it's really on the surface. It doesn't measure deep, but it measures like a bulk activity. You need a certain number of millions of nerves all firing at once to get even the change in the EEG to happen. And also the near infrared, it goes in a lot deeper. So
there was a
penetration we're looking at is about 8 centimeters on the basis of previous work anyway.
So we're just learning how to figure out how to listen to these biomarkers, and you guys are working in this much more sensitive way of how to talk to these biomarkers. Is that a reasonable sort of?
Yeah, it makes sense.
We could use that summary, couldn't we, Casey, in the future?
Definitely.
That's exactly what's happening.
Okay, cool.
It's a way of translating an inner process to something that you can sense. I quite like it. The idea of adding a sense to a person's sensorium.
Right. Yeah. So just rewind just a little bit to the sense of depth, because that's a really intriguing aspect of this system. Is that a fixed depth that you're monitoring?
No, it depends on the way that we set up the sensors. So it's a bit like radar in a way, because you send a tiny pulse of near infrared in, and you measure the echoes that come out. And depending on how far away from that sensor that you are, depends on the depth that it's being bounced away from. So it runs out in concentric rings around the sensor, around the initial point of stimulation.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not so much stimulation, but more like an echo, kind of like an echo chamber, going from one point and moving out. So yeah, it's not a fixed depth, no, but that's the maximum depth.
That's the maximum depth. Okay.
And that's based on work where they do a lot of work with this, where they use really high powered near infrared now to treat people with stroke injuries that haven't resolved after the initial treatment, or with the platelet thinning treatments.
Yeah,
they found that they can trigger a healing process. So there's something weird that happens with higher powered near infrared,
right?
It seems to trigger the neurotrophic factors.
Okay.
So I thought it was really fascinating. I had no idea that there were surgeons all over the US and in other countries doing this like really high powered near infrared laser work and having some pretty miraculous and documented results. So yeah, it's comforting to know that they're seeing improvements from that in a way that they weren't expecting.
Yes. Although a technology that you couldn't really just use just for monitoring, because it would have a invasive effect.
Going to use that level of power they're talking about.
No.
Probably 10,000 times as powerful as we're looking at using.
Right.
So what's the human experience in this? Because as you say, Casey and Amy, you sort of, we're working with, you've got your own case study, working with you with Casey and his daughter. These things are opening up a technological interface to create a more successful conversation. Of course, with the principal result to improve and enhance the human experience. So can we go to that area? I must admit, I love the technology, but I also am as fascinated by this as actually a psychotherapeutic tool. Which is what it is.
That's something that I see a psychiatrist, because he has the best drugs, of course, for my ADHD, and he's been quite fascinated by what we're doing and really referring me to people to talk to who are really interested in what we're doing, because what they really want is something that they can not only that they could use with their patients and see what's happening as they go through the session, or to help them monitor themselves as they go through something. Say, for example, they're reliving something traumatic. They can actually see what's happening in their brain as it happens. Perhaps see that heat map. Even seeing that heat map might be something that just like really gets people. Like if you see that as soon as you start thinking about this, immediately your fear center is starting to really heat up.
Right.
And,
right.
I mean, imagine the impact of that. That is just it's like a visual CBT almost.
Yes,
right.
So, Amy, are you thinking in the context of at all as you're working with this, as the context of the differences that there is between this more self-activating process, or the brain activating process, as different from the sort of rather club-fisted thing of medications? Is that something that you're spending a lot of time becoming aware of, or what's your attention to that aspect?
Look, what I found really exciting about this project and what we're doing is the accessibility factor. So it is really quite expensive to receive neurofeedback therapy. It's also, it takes a while. It's also to travel to and from a facility to get neurofeedback therapy, because last year it was, I think, Casey, it was approved as neurofeedback was approved as a therapy for ADHD. Was it, Casey, or was it?
It was a global recognition. It is a clinical therapy, which I thought was pretty fantastic. It's like, for all this time I've been trying to explain, this really is a real thing.
Yeah.
There's all this research. There's 20 plus years of research to back it up.
Yeah.
Sure, it sounds too good to be true. And I understand you're going, if it sounds too good to be true, typically it is. And that's what I thought when I first saw it, because it was like, really? You've got those results from just doing that? Really?
Yeah.
So,
well, this is my scientist skepticism that really got me interested in this in the first place, to be honest.
Yeah.
Because it just seemed too good to be true that people could
we've heard that from
their epilepsy just by doing a mental training exercise.
Yeah, we've heard the same comments from other neurofeedback artists saying, we've been doing this for 20 years and now at last we're getting some recognition. So Amy, you've just got something in there?
Oh, yeah. So I think we all want something portable. We all want something that we can access at home. So not having that available at the moment it's having a huge impact on some 30 million, I think, people in the country who have ADHD, autism, and other neurological conditions. Most people can't access it. My sister-in-law recently was quoted way outside of her budget to go to the Perth Brain Centre, or maybe you should cut that out. But she can't afford that, and her daughter has ADHD. But she absolutely needs the neurofeedback therapy. So what I can see happening with the device that we put to market is it will solve a massive problem for people not being able to receive the therapy, having to rely on medications, which, look, some people don't cope well having to take those types of medications all the time. And so, I'm excited about the future of therapy that doesn't include taking medications and does include being able to stay at home and not having to travel long distances and pay huge amounts of money to access.
Yeah.
So that's interesting, isn't it, Matt? That accessibility and affordability.
Absolutely. And this will be, correct me if I'm wrong, a system like other neurofeedback systems where you have a game or games that you play to entrain the brain in a certain way?
Yeah, that's definitely the plan, that it's something that can engage people like my daughter, who will engage very directly with games for a very long time. But if you wanted to concentrate on anything else, she really struggles even with medication.
Mm-hmm.
So that was another thing that grabbed me, that it could be a game-based therapy, because it's so much easier to engage with something like that, especially if you've got already issues with concentration.
Yeah. I did a lot of work with my sort of a research project of one, but just with my stepson with a lot of focusing and attention and ADD types of problems and things. And I fundamentally just used personally engaged curiosity as the so basically found him stuff he was interested in.
Yeah.
It was also when I was trying my daughter with a system called Emotive. That was one of another reason that got me really interested.
One of these.
Yes, that one. The wet system.
Yeah.
And our daughter has issues has sensory issues. And the fact that she was willing to have this wet thing sitting on her head, just because she was so fascinated at seeing what was happening in her brain, she got past something that normally would have her recoiling in horror at having something different on her head.
Yeah.
She was so fascinated that she got past that. That really kind of got me that if we could engage that'd be really amazing.
Yeah, I've written a couple of papers on the nature of the way the neurochemistry shifts in response to curiosity. So it's really helpful so this is an additional thing. So it's interesting, Matt. It's really interesting.
Absolutely. And, because I've had some experience with, this wet sort of system and, to be able to spend the time to make sure all the sensors are actually making good contact and that they remain in good contact, is an issue.
Now, when you say wet, it doesn't mean you're doing this in the shower.
No. That just means that the little sensors that touch the scalp have to have a bit of a wet contact with the scalp so that the electrical activity is read properly. And
I'm so glad.
It basically it acts as it kind of moisturizes the dry skin on the outer skin. Yeah. So that the signals from below that skin can go through.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it hydrates
which is,
the really expensive stuff is the thick kind of gel paste type stuff that you really shower.
Yes, I've had that, and it's. I'm not sensorially
sort of
sensitive, and it's.
It's not. I don't think it's designed for comfort.
Yeah.
No, I had a it's an 84 EEG setup as a research guinea pig, because I was always keen when I was a researcher to play the guinea pig for studies like that. It took them an hour and a half to set that up.
Yeah.
Just to get all those 84 contacts, and now they're going to 300.
Yeah. So
imagine
if you've got
how many injections that little injections of gel that takes.
So if you've got something that a kid can just
amount of time.
A kid can just put on, like a helmet, or just that, without all of this setup, then that is.
I like the idea of it being a bit like the Marvel helmet that you can. It just enhances you a little bit and gives you that extra sense you didn't have before.
Yeah, yeah. Now, where are you guys up to with this developing this product? Are you ready to go to market, or sort of where are you up to?
At this stage, we just won an early innovation prize with Bionex Queensland. So that was their inaugural program. So we were
congratulations, well done.
Really happy with that and amazed to be recognised that way, and that lets us go into industrial design. So ironically, it's the industrial design company that we're going with,
right?
Who initially referred me to a TAFE plastics manufacturing people, who then referred me to the bionic ear people, who then referred me to Bionex Queensland as it was forming over the last year or so.
Okay.
And then it's come back in a full circle that we're working with them to develop our product, because I haven't been able to find anyone else who really gets exactly what we want to do straight from the go.
Yeah, yeah.
I think Brisbane has been shown, what I've seen through this Bionic Queensland Challenge and winning that prize. Brisbane is thriving with bionics and innovation. The circle that Casey just explained just indicates that everyone is connected and everyone is helping each other. And I'm really excited about that too, because, I mean, we're speaking to you, and I think you guys are in Brisbane as well. And
one of us is.
Matt,
one of you?
Is, yeah. Mm.
Who's the cool one? Who's the good one?
Matt.
Matt, good on you.
Yeah, I'm the dull old guy.
Yeah. I'm excited about that too. It's, the growing ecosystem.
No, it is interesting that where the money goes and where the interest in the money goes, different states.
It's a bit of a terrifying amount of money and effort that goes into this. I was saying to Amy Rose the other day that when I started this, I definitely didn't expect to be. I expected to be doing a lot more designing and building, and a lot less paperwork and negotiating with people than I've ended up having to do. So it's not only been out of my comfort zone as a former scientist, but it's been out of my comfort zone of having to interact with people so much.
Right.
Being able to do it in something that I'm really fascinated in, it makes it a lot easier. So,
yeah.
And have you used the system yourself to assist your mental states to better manage this bureaucratic type of work you have to do? Have you had any? I
definitely will in future.
Yes,
I'll definitely be using it myself to I'll be definitely experimenting in every way I possibly can.
But we are still developing the actual.
Still developing.
Yeah.
But we managed to get some actual data off a basic system, so that was pretty exciting. Yeah. But Amy Rose has been kind of kicking me since then, because we didn't record it and then we disassembled the system, so we've got to rebuild again and actually record producing real data out of signals. So
So everything we do, I chase Casey. I need the data, I need evidence, I need that in a document, I need to show that to investors, I need to compile all of this data together to make it presentable and to go out and and try and get more funding, basically. So this is why I was kicking Casey, because
But this is a
I was
lovely.
kicking myself, but I knew as soon as I kind of drove away from where we were working, it was like, I really should have recorded that, shouldn't I?
Yeah.
Why didn't I do that?
But it's a beautiful example
I was just too excited at the time. So
yeah. It's a beautiful example of what we talk about in all kinds of aspects, particularly psychotherapy, of co-creation of things, of the value of combining brains and utilizing coordinated things, and now adding this interface. I mean, Matt and I would say the same thing. There are things that if it weren't for the other one, things would be missed and left. So
agree. And
there's a great partnership going on there.
Finding someone like Amy Rose to work with on this is it's just really pushed us beyond the point of anything we could have been doing before, because she brings an extra dimension to what we're doing. So the fact she still wants to work with me is an amazing thing.
I say that. So yes,
I'm always very, very appreciative that I'm not kind of annoying people to the point of frustration with my fascination with this kind of stuff. But for some reason she shares as my excitement with it, and other people seem to be getting on board. So I'm extremely happy about that. Not to have people going, "You're doing what? Do what?"
At face value, it sounds like a very exciting project, and I dare say that not just for therapeutic applications. I'd say there's a lot of researchers who would be very interested in this sort of device as well.
I think so. And we're going to do our best to make a system where they can actually access the data with having to pay for it.
Yeah, absolutely.
I've been pretty disappointed with some of the research systems out there that they make researchers pay a monthly fee.
Yeah.
And they'd make anyone pay a monthly fee. I think that's, if you've got a device that you've purchased and you want to access the data for a research project or to build software or do something interesting, why lock it to a paid system?
Yeah, so there's a lot of
possibilities of what you can do for people that don't necessarily have the funds but could do something amazing.
Yeah, and these are some of the things that you're approaching and mindful of, Amy, by the sounds of the partnership. Create your own data, create as much of it you can yourself.
Yeah, that's right, and also bring the consumer into, I guess, give authority to share data without just taking it from them. Sign up if they want
to use. European model where people have it's their right to start with, rather than a right that they don't have, but they kind of are given a little bit of control over. No, it's your data.
It's absolutely. You own the data.
If you choose to do it, it's a commodity that you own, and that you should be recompensed for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, Matt, this looks like a fabulous thing. I'm so glad we've been able to introduce it. But probably at this point, I need to have a think about some of all this stuff, and I want to go back and check some things. So I think maybe our listeners might be in the same place. What do you think?
Absolutely. Casey and Amy Rose, your project sounds amazing. We are going to watch this space, definitely. And we'd love you to stay in touch and let us know how it's progressing.
Yeah, we'd love to.
Be wonderful.
I'd love to send you both one once we've got it up and running, so you can have a play.
Oh, don't! No, I'm so fascinated.
What you might want to play with it with. So I'm really looking forward to that. To being able to show people and send them around and have people tell us what's good and what's bad and what you like, what you don't like.
Well, I'm going to get Matt to write a fanfare. But I know how exciting it is, and at this stage we're not at the point where we can pick up the item and doing it, so this is the exciting time to talk about it, and I just want to thank you so much for coming on and sharing all this stuff.
We really appreciate you taking the time with us. It's been really cool to talk to people from your perspective, where you're involved in an area that we've been thinking about it going into, but maybe not exploring it as much as we could because we just don't have that background.
Yeah.
Well, anyone out there listening who's got some money and some brains, an interest in this stuff, here's two guys and girls that are really worth backing.
Absolutely. We'll put links in the show notes so that anyone interested, they can jump on and have a look at Cortex Brain Technologies. Casey and Amy Rose, thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Thanks for having us.
Nice to meet you both.
Yeah, bye.
Bye.
Bye.